Good day, everybody. My name's Glenn Stafford. I'm with Stafford Atlas AI. I have the pleasure of having a podcast with Allan Macdonald of Seisiun Analytics. Allan is a highly experienced senior data architect with a remarkable 25-year career rooted in business intelligence and data warehousing. His journey began as a powerhouse 4GL programmer, quickly evolving into expertise with Cogno's Business Intelligence Suite. Allan spent 5 years as a practice architect with Tech Systems. In this role, he was instrumental in assembling and leading multiple ETL teams, ETL being the acronym for extract, transfer, and load, showcasing his strong leadership and technical prowess in data integration. During this period, he has also spearheaded a significant 3-year data vault implementation for a retail food chain, further cementing his expertise in complex data architect projects. How's that for the summarization of your background, sir?
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I did my research. The I want to start off with you mentioned that you have over 30 years ago you began dealing with printers, disconnecting computers. Could you elaborate on how this early experience shaped you in the foundation and your understanding of technology challenges?
Well, back then it was that's all we had. I mean, I worked in a smaller organization, a hospital organization that was totally disconnected. So wasn't a large hospital that was networked. So it was at a necessity that for this my start of my career, that's where I started. So, but it's just that allowed me to have the ability to troubleshoot things. So, when you're on your own and you are the IT department and you're hooking up printers and somebody else doesn't understand, or there is, there was no internet then, Glenn. There was nothing, internet was something that the government had, the army had, and the military had. We didn't have anything to do with it. So it was, it was if you were networked, as a internal to your organization, and then that came with its own idiosyncrasies, right? But being separate like that and being the only one, hooking up printers and doing stuff like that is taught me how to think through a problem and troubleshoot through a situation. It had to work. There was no way around it. So, it wasn't the fact that I could just say, oh, that's not working. Oh well. I mean, that's today. That's
Yeah,
where we are today. Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, well, let's move on or throw it away. It's like we didn't have the opportunity to do that. Things were really expensive. The technology was new, and you didn't have the opportunity to go, oh, this didn't work. And if somebody had an organization with printers that were dot matrix printers or previous to that, you had to make it work. So let's do it.
yeah. Now, your journey extended from Nova Scotia to the United States for Y2K,
Yeah.
then into business intelligence and data. It's a fascinating journey. What was the pivotal moment that led you to found Session Analytics in 2019?
Pivotal. I guess it was watching organizations being inside. I probably, as a consultant in my career, I've probably been in 150 to 200 companies. It was watching organizations do the same thing and expecting a different result. And they're still doing it today. I think you and I talked about this before. We're trying to solve a problem with throwing software and hardware and people when the problem is organization of the data. So that was a realization for me, was to say there's got to be a way to help organizations understand that you can still chase the bigger computer. We're always going to need that bigger computer, but at some point in time, there's going to be you're going to run into the money wall. And the money wall, we're running into the money wall right now. Organizations, you and I talked earlier, the organizations are spending a fortune on their cloud spend. It's so bad now that they're moving back on prem, which is they're not going to save any money. They didn't save any money moving to the cloud. They're not going to save any money moving back. The underlying problem is the data. Fix your data, organize your data, solves the problem. Then you get to use the horsepower. But that's what started me down this journey was the things that companies were doing. I'd leave these organizations just shaking my head, going, I can't believe what these people are doing, and go to the next one. I can't believe they're doing even worse than the previous one, and that's been the way of my career. And I think that's anybody who's been a consultant.
Gotcha. Now, the you, uh, I would be interested in as far as what key lessons did you learn from the software development venture, and how did it influence your current business model?
Yeah, you know, I got into that software development venture by looking at something that was internal to me. I was solving a problem inside, my organization, and then turned around and looked at it and said, "Oh, maybe this is useful for somebody else." Um, that's the underlying software development problem. Somebody builds a product for themselves, and then they go out to the market and say, "Oh, well, if I need it, somebody else needs it." Really? That's not necessarily true. So I think what happened with that endeavor was somebody else. Now some large company came along and did the exact same thing that I was doing with two developers, and it was like, okay, you can decide to keep going and beating this dead horse, or they can take their money and let it run, and you go do something else. Now there are a lot of organizations that keep beating that dead horse. You got to realize very quickly, go, okay, I can't compete. I'm an individual with two people who are working on sweat equity, and I'm going to compete with somebody the size of $1 billion organization. It's not happening. You're not doing it. They just have the resources. That's all to it. So you have to realize what I realized very quickly was that I can't compete. This is a great idea, but lots of ideas fall on the cutting room floor just because there's somebody else comes along can do it cheaper, or there's just something else that replaces it immediately. So I quickly decided this wasn't a venture for me to spend my money on.
Gotcha. Now, in previous discussions we've had, you talked about how you had a disdain for salespeople, yet you became one yourself. And I'm intrigued with that. So you also emphasize in being a salesman, you involved yourself with a coach or coaches.
Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you share specific examples of how coaching has fundamentally changed your approach to business or sales?
yeah, for sure. I've been doing this since 2019. I've learned more in the past 6 months with a coach than I have, out of the experience of 7 years of experience. The thing is that you want to learn from somebody else's mistakes, not make your own, right? Somebody else has made these things. Well, the coach comes in that experience. So they have the experience in the coaching. You referee. I coached kids in baseball and basketball and hockey and tennis and all kinds of sports when I was in college and in my years moving into the United States. You understand the fundamentals as a coach, and there are fundamentals in everything. And fundamentals come into play when you're not getting results or something's going wrong. And if you don't have the fundamentals, then you're just going through the motions. That's what I was doing for those that up until about 7 6 7 months ago. Getting a
Okay.
coach, having that ability for somebody to look at things that I think I'm doing correctly because it's my standpoint. When somebody's on the outside looking at this, going, and then questioning, why did you do that? Not saying don't do that, but asking the questions, why did you do that? And that allows me or made me start thinking, going, I don't know. I just did it out of what I thought was right. So my advice to anybody in anything at all, sports, learning a sport, learning anything, get a coach. They're important. You know what I mean? They're extremely important. They will cut down your learning time by years, not months, by years. So that's my advice. That's the thing that helped me immensely, Glenn, was just deciding that, I don't know enough about this business world without help.
That's definitely excellent advice. Now, you highlighted that enterprises don't have an AI problem at first, but a data integration and architecture problem. Can you
Yeah.
explain how fragmented and inconsistent data can sabotage AI initiatives, and how session analytics addresses this foundation issue?
Yeah, so you know, you're an AI. AI is a pattern recognition. What it does. That's all it does. It recognizes pattern. Really good at it. It's very good at it. But at that point in time, that's the extent of what it's good at. It can recognize patterns. What it doesn't do is one thing that it doesn't do, unless you really work at it, is to tell you that it doesn't know. It's inherently not programmed into its ability to say, I don't know the answer to that. What it's programmed to do is to give you an answer. That's where the hallucinations come from. Nice word from saying it's guessing. And that's exactly what it's doing. It pattern recognized, didn't come up with a thing that matched what you were asking it. It picked from a list and said, here. Now it's your responsibility as the human to turn around and go, that's not correct. That's not right. Don't follow that. So I guess it's important, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here because I get on my AI my thing. AI is a wonderful tool. I use it every day. We're all more advanced now than we ever were than with utilizing AI. But you can't take the human out. The human still has to check. The human still has to look at this thing and go, I don't think that's correct. Let me do a little more research. All right. That's where this is coming from with data. If we just throw AI at somebody's data because someone turns around, and I have it in my, Indian clients, we want AI. Well, what is it that you want? I don't know, but we want AI. I know that's something that's out on LinkedIn that somebody put, but this is what we're hearing right now. And AI has been around in some shape or form now for going on 15, 20 years, but it's just really taken off over the past two. However, nobody knows what it is. They don't know. They think it's ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever the other ones are, but it's more than that. It's deeper than that. And if you're just going to put this in place to say, oh, I have this in front of our data, if your data is not organized, it's just going to pattern recognition what you have. And if what you're doing is incorrect, it's going to take you down an incorrect path. And you're going to make decisions on that data that will be costly. And if somebody doesn't check and they don't go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense, you could be down a path of destruction.
Okay. Now you're partnered with Data Vault Binder or Builder,
Builder.
excuse me,
Yeah.
Data Vault
Yeah.
Builder for automation. What were the key metrics and experiences that led you to choose Data Vault Builder as your sole partner for automating the Data Vault implementations?
So this is an opinionating thing, Glenn. For me, it's my opinion, so that's what I'm going with. But
That's fine.
I
People
I've
can
worked
share
with
your opinion.
yeah I've worked with other organizations, Squarescape, Speed, Automate DV, a lot of tools that are out there for automating the process of data vault. In my opinion, Data Vault Builder is the one that gets me closest to 100% automation. I can buy one tool. The client can purchase one tool or subscribe to one tool. It allows them to go from inception, from staging all the way through down into their star schema, build a star schema inside the tool, allow without having to go, oh, I need this tool, I need this tool, I need this tool. It's basically a four for one tool. It's probably more, but I guess the I'll get a telephone call from Peter Bellis, to the designer, going, we got better, we're better than that. But anyway, it's a yeah, in my opinion, it's the one tool that provides my clients the one-stop shopping to be able to go from staging to production in a very short period of time. And I mean weeks, not months. And in some
Cool.
instances, days, not weeks. So it depends on what we're doing.
Okay. Now you shared a very interesting anecdote where you, with Chat GPT, were arguing with it about hashing algorithms.
Yeah.
How do you instill importance of human oversight and critical questioning of AI outputs within your team and within your clients?
Well, it's the same. Look, I look, we've only got to know each other over a couple of times, but I use experience and analogies to explain stuff, and a lot of people do this. Where I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I first moved to the United States, I went to the store. I bought $5 worth of stuff. I handed the young lady $5. She handed me back $5 and change. And I went, I just, do you think this is correct? And she said, yes, the computer told me. And I went, okay, we're in trouble. Give me my $5. So I walked out the door. That's where we are. It hasn't gotten any better. I sat on a symposium a couple of years ago at a conference in England, and somebody asked, "What's the we were talking about AI," and I said, "Look, I'm not worried about AI taking over the world. That's not going to happen. What I'm worried about is the laziness of human beings. We're not going to check. That's what caused the destruction of the world, not the AI itself. It's the human being not checking. It's like so yeah. Back to the hashing algorithm. I mean, look, I knew based on what I was designing the answer. I knew the answer. I was just using ChatGPT to help me do something in a quick fashion. But here's the thing: we've got people not. If you don't know and you're asking ChatGPT an answer to a question that you have, and you don't have an idea and you haven't done any research, and this thing's a pattern recognition and doesn't say it can't tell you I don't know, that's a recipe for disaster. So that's what I'm saying about this stuff. We need to make sure that you're checking. Do you know? I'll give you another example. I read an article the other day. Do you know we're at a point in history right now where we've got graduates coming out and they're functionally illiterate. They are illiterate. They can't read, and it's like you're graduating from university and you cannot. You're illiterate. So and part of the blame is AI, and it's like no. The part of the blame is you're not questioning. That's the blame. It's not AI. AI is a tool. So this is stuff that we have to do, or I mean, we're just going to be walking around. Right now, people are walking around with their head in their phones and banging into things. So what happens when you go a little bit further down the road? I mean, we'll be a bunch of drooling idiots. Like this has to stop. We have to start asking questions, and it has to start today. It can't wait.
Gotcha. Now, how has Session Analytics directly benefited from leveraging AI tools in its own operations? I would say, particularly in the areas of sales processes and competitive analysis.
So I'm doing an analytic research right now on our ideal customer profile with I use ChatGPT. That's been my tool. That's what I use. I had the paid version, the business version. That's what I use. Other people don't like it. Doesn't matter to me. I'm a purist. I want the red line back in hockey. That's how much of a purist I am. But what I use it. I use it personally to go through and do the research that would take me thousands and thousands of dollars and months of time, which now I can do in relatively 20 to 30 minutes. I still have to question it, but it still gives me the opportunity for it to go out and do that research that would cost me thousands of dollars in hiring marketing firms and research firms. So yeah, we use it all the time. Now I'll give you an example. My number one guy used um, one of the AIs to build our CRM um, exactly the way we wanted it. So I think that's what's available to us right now is that you have the ability to do the things that you couldn't do before. Now there's an argument of that it puts people out of work. It's like, yeah, the Industrial Revolution put people out of work too. So you got to get with the times and you got to move along. So there's things that we need to be able to do. It's not going to replace the human being. We can't replace the human. Um, but it can replace that things that nut on the bolt stuff. We've already done that with robots. So what's the next piece of these things? So anything that can be automated will be automated. Look at McDonald's. That's just the way it
Okay.
is, right?
Okay. Now, looking ahead, what are the biggest trends or challenges you foresee in data architecture and AI integration for customer software development agencies? And how is Session Analytics preparing to address this?
Challenges. When there's too many to mention. The challenges are numerous. I think it's just we need to get back to first principles. We need to get back to keeping things simple, plain and simple. We're trying to, look what AI can do right now. AI makes us more efficient. I can, and if you use it this way for my business, for personal, anybody at all, if you use it in the way that says, look, I can truly multitask with an AI tool or AI. Human beings can't multitask. We say, oh, you're multitasking. You're not multitasking. You're just doing, a bunch of crap over a period of time, one at a time. You're just making it look like you're doing a bunch of things. You just got a bunch of balls in the air, none of them are getting completed. What AI allows you the ability to do is go do that something that I need you to do, and I'm going to go over here and do something else. I tell people all the time, the truly multitasker, look at a drummer. That's a multitasker. That's somebody who can do four things at the same time. That's multitasking. A guitarist. I'm a guitarist. You can do a piano player. You're doing two different things. That's multitasking. That's exactly what we're doing. When you're doing tasks with AI, and I know I'm getting off topic now and answering your question, but when you're doing
Nope.
tasks with AI, allowing the AI engine or the tool to be able to do something that allows you to do something else, that's allowing you to multitask. Um, but again, back to the original point that we said earlier in the conversation, you still have to check, dude. You got to check what this thing is doing. That's all it's doing.
Hmm. Okay. Now, one of the things that would be kind of interesting with CTOs and VPs of engineering or heads of operations in customer software development agencies,
Yeah.
they're struggling with scope creep, resource allocation, or manual reporting. What's the single most important piece of advice you would offer them today?
Ah, the look, scope creep has been around since we developed project management. That's just the way it is. The things is you have got to make sure that when you're managing a project, that if something extra comes in, if scope creep comes in, if somebody adds something, there's lots of organizations I've worked in them. Every time you turn around, there's a change management process put in place. They're adding things to the mix, but not changing the direction or not changing the deliverable. It takes, I think, the biggest thing that has to occur in these organizations when we're talking about this scope creep stuff is to have somebody empowered at that project manager level to say, if you put something on, you got to take something off because we can't keep adding. Because if you keep adding, then you have to change the timeline. And if the timeline isn't going to change, you have to remove something. So pick your thing that you need to remove, or there's no scope creep. Our problem is we've got a lot of people. I hate to bang on project managers. The same thing that I had with salespeople, and I became one. But this is the way things are. You have to put your big boy pants on and do just that. You have to push back, say, look, this is not something we can do. You either have to add resources, plain and simple, or add time, or take away deliverables. It has to be one of the other because you cannot keep adding things and not change something. So I think that's the biggest thing for scope creep for anybody is to truly manage a product or a project. You have to empower your people to make the decisions, and you have to empower your people to say enough is enough. This is the only thing we can do because that's all it's doing. I've had multiple projects that go that way, and sometimes you win that fight. Most times you don't. But the project is affected by it if somebody keeps pushing the scope to a point where it's just going to break, and that's all it's doing. There's just no way around it. You have to have somebody stand up and say, "We can't do this," and something's going to pay. And you got to be able to say, at some point in time, it's horrible to say, you have to be able to stand up in front of the group and say, "I told you so." This is the stuff that you have to understand. We're going to go this pathway. You're going to completely add things. You're not going to change the direction. You're not going to add people or lower time or lower the scope to fit this timeline. And it's going to affect the timeline and the project's going to fail. And it will fail 100% of the time if you allow scope creeping.
Okay. I'll be, for our viewing audience, how can they learn more about session analytics and connect with you?
Yeah, you could connect online on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. We have our website, sessionanalytics.com. I know it's a weird spelling, Seisiun. It's it's an Irish name. I've got an Irish Scottish background, so that's where the name came from. Um, we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I do a lot of posts about where we are, where things are on the data side. And we have a YouTube channel, the Session Analytics YouTube channel. So we're pretty well. The only thing I'm not on is X yet, and I don't. I think I've got enough to do with all the stuff that I have instead of going out and posting things on every platform known to man. So, yeah, the regular places.
Okay. Now, one of the things I'd be kind of curious of is explain to our audience why they should work with you in improving their data integrity.
I'll do the can thing. I mean, we've been doing this for I've been doing this, and my folks who are with me have been doing this for 30 plus years. Um, Doing it. Look, we've changed the way of working for people. We do things in weeks, not months. We have an 8 week deliverable that we now that taking Data Vault Builder on as our partner, we can do those 8 week deliverables, which means that most companies now can put 6 objects into production, large objects into production for the year instead of just 1 or 2. Working with us means that you're not looking back and see what you if you've got something, you can look back and say, I've got 6 objects in production, just by the way we do stuff. Um, we we look at helping organizations. Like I said to you before, Glenn, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've watched companies do things that just make you shake your head, and they just go again and chase the next shiny object, whether it's software, hardware, or now AI. Yet they continue, and this is every company on the planet. There might be a couple who aren't doing this, but every company on the planet is basically doing the exact same thing. And when I look at it from people and I say, look, you've gone. I've had one of my salespeople in India say, people are telling me all the time, we already have that. And I said, yeah, they have data warehouses, they have Databricks, they have, a data lake and a lake house and a Delta Lake. They have everything known to man. Do you know what they didn't do? They didn't solve their complexity. They still have the complexity of their environment. They still have the complexity of their data. And now they're going to throw AI at that complexity, and the costs are running through the roof. That's why they're going back on-prem. So working with us gives you that experience. We've gone this. My solution architect says we get the gray hair so you don't have to. So we've done it with experience. That's the way it works. So we take this and we run with these organizations, and we look at where they are, we look at what they've done, and we look at the complexity that they have, and we start tackling the complexity. That's why people should work with us.
Great. Well, Allan, I want to say thank you very much for your time. For our viewing audience, we got to hear from an industry leader who is very big into the integrity of data. There's a lot that they could perhaps do for you. And I encourage you to go out to their website and check them out. And again, Allan, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.